Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. Hey, if you like futures because of the tight spreads and clear setups, go check out Blue Guardian Futures. They let you start trading futures with up to $450k in funding. The best part, you keep 100% of your first 15k in profits, then 90% after that. No activation fees, weekly payouts, and they're sponsoring Chris Eubank Jr. and Birmingham City FC. Go take a look at blueguardianfutures.com or click the link in the description.
What's going on, guys? It's Brinks Trades. I don't know why I'm so small. Why am I so small? Yo, what the hell? What the hell? What the hell, Beyonce? What's going on, y'all? It's Brinks Trades coming to you. I'm still small. What is this? Yo, that's better. All right, cool. What's going on, y'all? It's Brinks Trades. I'm trying for the third time. It's Brinks Trades coming to you live with another week of breakdowns. Again, if y'all don't know who I am, then hopefully you have a good understanding of this by now, because I've been doing this for like 3 years, but I am the resident indices analyst for the Trading Nut podcast. So every week I come on here and I basically break down charts, give y'all the game for next week, and try to impart a little bit of my decade of experience, trading the markets in here. So first things first, before we get started, every week I love to see people comment from where they're calling from. Tony already knows the drill. Let's go, Coach Brinks and traders. If you guys are dropping and this is your first time watching, I like to come on different times of the day on Saturday, or it might even be Sunday, depending on where you're at, because Cam does this from Australia. This is his podcast, and he is in Australia, and I think it's like Sunday over there, right? Like it's like 24 hours ahead. I'm based in the Eastern Time Zone in the United States. You can't tell by my accent. So if you guys are watching this for the first time, type in where you're calling in from. Just drop a comment in the box. I promise you, it's not gonna hurt anybody. Everything's cool. So Kenya, East Africa. Yo, shout out to Kenya. What city in Kenya? I'm not trying to put your business out there, but what city in Kenya are you calling from, man? But anyway, I do this every week to start off to let people know that like this is a global podcast, man, and a global platform. There's people from all over the world. Tony, he's in the United States. He's actually one of my mentorship students. What's up, brother? He said, I'm on another streamer on Cam's live. Okay. What's up, Caden? What's going on, man? I got to follow you, man. After this is over, I got to check it out. I do a terrible job of trying to stay in contact with or checking out the other streamers on here, but the whole platform, the whole podcast platform, they got a bunch of streamers that do their thing when it comes to trading. Eldoret. Let's see, Nigeria. So we got all over the place, man. We all over the country. Caden said he's in Cali, North Carolina. That's what's up, man. Everybody I know in California is either in Charlotte or Raleigh. That's the two cities. And I was just in Raleigh not too long ago, about a year ago. But yeah, so what I do every week, I come on here and I just break down the podcast or break down the charts for this week, and we'll go ahead and get into those. So if you guys don't know me, I trade with a lot of different. I've been trading a decade in the market, so I have a lot of different experiences across a lot of different kind of styles of trading. I came in the game a long time ago with this method called the market maker method. If you guys have been trading since 2015, you might recognize that. But, since then, I've had a lot of mentors, a lot of different traditional support and resistance, some SMC stuff, some other things, right? Meaning regression theory, a lot of different types of trading that I do. And so I take this stuff, put it together in one system that I use on a daily basis. And, that's what I give for the outlook. So, I think it's pretty accurate. If you guys, look at my track record over the past couple of years doing this, everything is public. Nothing gets deleted. You can go back and watch the first live that I ever did 2 years ago, as long as it still stays up. And everything is also goes to my YouTube channel. So you might be watching this on my actual YouTube channel on Brinks Trades right now, or you might be watching it on the Trading Nut podcast. Either way, everything, nothing gets disappeared. Nothing gets erased. Everything is there. It's transparent trading. Caden said he's another trader on the channel, too. So he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Your wins are there. Your losses are there. Your projections, when they're right or wrong, are there too. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. So starting off with the daily time frame and weekly time frame on dollar. Again, if you guys know why I start with dollar, it's all because of inner market relationships between different currencies and assets. All of these markets are connected, right? You might just trade Euro USD, you might just trade NASDAQ, right? And that's kind of what's advertised. But for the most part, all of these markets have somewhat of a relationship. They all flow and kind of depend on each other. So nothing you trade is really isolated, and they all kind of have some type of relationship. So if you understand the relationships, you should be able to help use that to form your thesis on the market and what you think it's going to do for the next week. So when we talk about dollar, again, I look at dollar first because it is my it is kind of like, what a lot of the currencies are based against when you think about your majors, right? When you think about indices, So again, let's look at dollar first. So over the past couple of weeks, what we wanted to see is the market really run bearish, right? This is what we've been calling out for since pretty much the beginning of June. Pretty much, we wanted to see this market really drop, and we really took this level of sell side here. Now, last week we said we wanted to see the market come down here and take this low at 97,100. If I go to the weekly time frame, you can see that this market here is it has traded into this overall. Well, there's a couple of things, and we called this out on last week's pod, but really this area from, make sure I get this right, that low to that high, this zone right here is what's known as a volume imbalance, or just a gap in candles, right? It's an area that the market is going to leave because there's an absence of trading in this range. And so we leave these charts, especially in the higher time frames, the daily and the weekly, we leave these open. So the market, just to see if the market will retest these areas. What I like to see is a body candle drop. It can wick off of this, but I usually will leave these open until we get, a body laid through here. So again, last week, what we wanted to see is the market come down and take this low here. You understand that there's a level of sell side that sits below this low. And so we wanted to see the market drop down and take that low. And that's at 97.13, right? Instead, what we actually got here, and I'm going to raise that up a little bit just so it's accurate to that low right there. Boom. If you zoom out and see, what we actually got is the market came down here, retested it, just stopped just shy of taking this low here, and traded away from it for the week. So we actually ended up getting a counter trend week. Now, what does this mean in the long term of things? Again, you guys know when I'm making my weekly projections, I like to think about the market from a 5-day window. So I'm thinking week to week, right? I try not to over project because anything can happen, right? Someone can push a button and we're, sending, nukes to a different country, right? Everybody, if you've been watching the news, you know what I'm talking about. We can, anything can happen in a longer period of weeks, right? So I try to just project what I think is going to happen, weekday from in a 5-day period. So from 1 week to the next, right? And so that's why this weekly time frame is very key. So again, even though we had a counter trend week last week, we still very much are in a downtrend. There's nothing here that tells us that we want to continue going higher, at least on this time, right? We did run this low twice, and I'll draw a line here so you guys can see this. We did take sell side here twice. We ran below it once, tried to run below it again. I thought we were going to keep going lower. We failed to do that. So I am making a note of that. But as of right now, there's nothing here on the weekly time frame that says that we have to go up. So let's go down to the daily time frame. And I know this is a little bit choppier, a little bit messier here, especially with this huge gap here. So I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff because, again, I actively trade, man. So like 1 week to the next, my overall markings don't change, but there's a lot of markups that happen from Saturday to the next Saturday when I'm on these calls. So dropping out of the daily time frame again, I noted this last week, but this volume imbalance here, right? And again, what I want to call out here is that we still very much are on a downtrend. This isn't really a clean break of structure, at least in the daily time frame. We did trade back into this range, and my bias here again still lined up with the daily or in the weekly is I still want to see this drop. What I am noting though is our trading above consequent encroachment and our failure to get below that. But right now, this is kind of just chop. We ran up here, retested the high end of this gap, if wicked off of the midpoint, right? So based on the higher time frame, I still want this to go lower, right? And so I'm just going to say this. So coming into next week, what could we potentially want to hit? Well, we could take out the high of last week potentially, or we could just run straight to the lows. If we close above this gap, and definitely if we close above this level here at 99.26, I'm going to want to see the market start to shift into an uptrend. This is kind of one of those levels where the market is kind of trading at equilibrium of a price swing. So from this high to this low, we're kind of in that middle 50% range. And it's kind of hard to predict what the market's going to do next, at least if you just look at one particular time frame. That's why we go higher. That's why we go lower, just so we can build an idea. But ideally, based on what we've seen so far, I still want to stick to the idea that the market is going to go lower. So potentially, maybe we run up and take last week's high and then start to trade lower from there. That's an ideal scenario. We could just run lower. But if we do close above this range here, and definitely if we struggle, if we have really run through this high at 99.34, I'm going to want to take things higher. So that's what I'm looking for. $1. With that being said, I'm also going to want to run higher on our major currencies, obviously with USD as the secondary pair. So Euro USD and GBP USD. So let's check those out and see what we got here. And so I called this out last week on Euro, and I said that I wanted to see the market trade into this overall fair value gap here and then go higher to start the week off. And we actually got the opposite. So last week was kind of a counter trend week on all assets. So if I go to the weekly time frame again, right, instead of us kind of getting the power three where we run lower and then go higher, we ended up doing the opposite, right? So we ended up going higher and then going lower. So we came back over this high, swept it one more time, and then traded back into this range to the low. So how I'm looking at this is I'm still looking at the weekly time frame, still looking at structure, right? And I see that we still very much are on an uptrend. There's nothing here that lets us know that we want to go on a downtrend just yet. So I go to the daily time frame, and again, this imbalance that we called out over the past few weeks is still being respected. So this level is 1.4 or 1.1485 and 1.1448, right? So that's being respected. So we're still good there. What I'm looking for is I'm going to jump down to the 4-hour time frame. I want to see an area where we can, kind of bounce off for our retest. I'm looking at this zone right here, taking things higher. That's what I would like to see. Best case scenario, right? Best case scenario, I would love for us to come back into this range, maybe even retest this order block here. And I'm going to draw this out in time and just say bullish OB. And, that's kind of the best case scenario, what I'd like to see just to get the most premium entry or the most discounted entry, I guess. But, we could just respect this current level we're at and keep going higher. So I'm note of that too as well. Let me go over to the comment section. What's up, Tony? I guess we know everybody knows everybody in the chat. Yeah, I'm in Charlotte. Okay, cool. Yeah, man, I told you Charlotte, man. That's the spot, man. If I had to live in North Carolina, actually, if I had to live in the South, period, I think North Carolina and Charlotte would be like one of the top cities. I feel like it's a big city, but it's still kind of chill. You know what I mean? Anyway, so going back to your USD again, this is also 6E. If you trade futures, I trade on the futures now. So that's the one that I'm looking at. So again, this is really what I want to see. I'm still very much bullish on this. There's nothing here that says broken market structure. We actually did break on the 4-hour and then we broke again, right? So very much bullish on this. It's just choppy on euro, right? Like we know the currencies can get very choppy in comparison to the indices. So now if we go to the weekly time frame on dollar or on GBP USD, again, same idea here, right? We wanted it to trade into its respective fair value gap. It did that. And not only did it trade into this fair value gap here, and I'm going to get rid of this so you guys can see better. Again, I'm going to apologize for actually trading. So that's why my charts are marked up. We traded into this gap. If I get rid of this blue line right here, you can see that this wick here really chapped consequent encroachment of that gap. So 1.338, and then traded back not only below this wick that set the initial fair value gap, but then this low here as well. It respected all that. So really clean low that was respected. And so what I want to do is I want to see this market go higher. Now we jump down to the daily time frame. We are respecting this fair value gap here, right? On a bearish run, we did have 1 drive, 2 drive, 3 drives, then we broke structure coming down. A lot of times, this is just a hint. A lot of times the market moves and drives when it's about ready to reverse or do something that's gonna take away structure and move in a bearish fashion. A lot of times you'll see kind of like 3 hits to the high, right? Like 1, 2, 3, and then it'll give out. It's currently respecting the CIBI right here. So what I want to see before I can really take any action here is I want to see this inverted. And I'm going to make a note that says, want to see inversion fair value gap. Meaning basically I just want this market to trade above this level, right? If it continues to respect it, there's not really a trade here. So I'm not even really looking for a trade until we get back over this high at 1.354. Because again, if I look at dollar and I look at euro, dollar is bearish, euro is bullish. So I'm really looking to see how we respect this here. And I want to see this follow euro, and euro is bullish. So I want this to be bullish too. The only way this can be bullish is if we invert this fair value gap. So that's what I'm looking for. Go to the 4-hour. Let's see if we technically do have broken market structure here too. Like we ran lower and then took out this high. So that's a broken market structure. So again, maybe we retest this fair value gap again. I'll just say maybe we sweep this low and then go higher, right? That's just an idea. But ideally for this week, I want to see the market respect this, disrespect this fair value gap. And just, the hardest part to pick is the high and the low of each week. But if you have an idea of what you want to see the range for the week, which is bullishness, then it kind of lets you play the game a little bit easier. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on GBP. Again, I have the futures version up. This is 6B, but the levels are the same on GBP USD. So you can see here, same market, right? So let's go to NASDAQ, and I'm gonna hit the comment section and see what's going on with NAS. Got about 32 people on the call. So we got 32 people on this call, and only 1, 2, 3, 4 people said where they're from. That's crazy. I'm just saying, like, y'all can interact. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt y'all. Okay, so let's go to NASDAQ real quick. What are we looking at on NASDAQ? So NASDAQ is actually kind of crazy right now. So we did a few things. I was actually calling this one live out with my students on Thursday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. And, when I was in the New York AM session, this was a full bearish candle here. And I just kind of assumed that we were going to break structure and keep going. And that's one of the reasons we want to wait for daily closes and 4-hour closes and higher time frame closes, especially when you're trading indices, to get an idea of what's going on. Because now this looks very bullish, right? This looks like we inverted this fair value gap, traded all the way down, and then came back to the midpoint of this gap and respected it, right? That's what that looks like. Whereas, yesterday or Thursday, this was a bearish candle. Or Friday, I think. it was a full bearish candle, and I was like, oh yeah, we're definitely breaking structure and going lower. So you want to wait for daily closes to give you an idea. But as of right now, I mean, this is bullish, right? It inverted this gap, is going higher. It is in a little bit of a consolidation channel here though. So if I had to pick something, I would want to see us come back down on a daily time frame. There's a few levels that I'll mark out. I'm going to be looking at the low end of this fair value gap here. And I like to measure these levels out, or have these levels marked out ahead of time. So like when I'm in the lower time frames, when it's actually time to work, then I'm not I'm not like forgetting about these higher time frame levels. So that's the first level. Then I'm going to look at the fair value gap. I'm sorry, the consequent encroachment of this wick. And again, if this is your first time hearing a lot of these terms, y'all got to get in my Discord. You got to get in my Discord, right? And the Discord is free for free members. I have two versions of it, two permissions, right? So there's a free one and there's a paid one. If you're not in at least the free one, you're missing out, because I give out a lot of free game there, and it doesn't cost you anything. Just like these calls don't cost you anything. And then there's a mentorship group where I work directly with people too, so they get access to a course, they see me trade live, etc. So I'll talk about that more in a second. But the low end of the fair value gap, the low end, I'm just gonna say wick low, and then consequent encroachment. So ideally, I want to see how the market reacts next week, coming out and retesting each of these levels. If we respect them, then I'm going to try and take things a little bit higher going next week. So these are the three levels at 21,809, 764, and 21,653. Jumping down to the lower time frame. Yeah, it's just chop. Nothing there that I want to be concerned with. ES. Again, whenever you see chop on a chart, you kind of want to go to a higher time frame and see if you can see something better. Same idea here, except this one's a little bit, it's actually trading below the fair value gap. So that's actually not a great sign for bullishness. And again, I look at all three of these assets so I can compare and see like if there's any divergence or anything like that. So as of right now, I'm going to say this is actually it's the same setup, but just where the fair value gap is positioned, it's a little different. So this one actually looks bearish because it came up respect to the gap. See that we closed right around consequent encroachment and then rejected from there, tried to hit there twice and then rejected again. So I'm going to say tentatively this is bearish, which is not a good, because these should line up with NASDAQ. So I'm going to take a last look at YM and see what's going on there. And that might change my overall opinion on Euro. Or I'm sorry, on NASDAQ. So this is just consolidation. It's not really good. So one's bullish, one's bearish, the other one's consolidating. It's not great. And this is what I wanted to see: bearishness. Trade back up in here and go down. We're getting a lot of rejections from this midpoint here. So I'll say this. I'm going to be bullish over this high. This is kind of an area that you kind of just have to stay out of until it sorts itself out, because when price hits a high level target, it can kind of do whatever it wants to do. It keep going, it can rush through. And so if you can see here, there's been a lot of rejections from a weekly level, from this level here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually did drop. If we go bearish next week, I want to see something like that, maybe one more retest and then go lower. I will say that I will be bullish above this high. I hate when I have to give like a scenario like that where it's like if this, then this, or I'm bullish or bearish depending on the scenario. But that's kind of the reality of where we're at level wise of the charts. If you ever watch my analysis, I always try to give like a definitive direction, or I'm just staying out of the markets. So I'm gonna just say bullish above this level, right? And then probably bearish below. That's a good point. I'm just gonna say definitely bearish below this level. So these levels are 41,889 and then 43,021 on the Dow Jones or US30. But right now we're kind of at an area of equilibrium or balance. You can see the market trading back up into that level, and it's hard to tell if it's rejecting this or if it's going to keep going higher. With all these wicks and respecting the bodies, respecting consequent encroachment, I would assume that it wants to go lower, which makes me want to go back to NASDAQ really quickly and see. I almost don't want to change my bias. Say that I'm going to be bullish, do this. Same idea. I'm going to be bullish above this high here at 22,130. So what am I doing if I have like a bias where I could potentially see the market doing one, it could either go both ways. Well, I'm going out to the smaller time frames and I'm just trading things based on how the market is giving me power of 3 for that day. And again, if you're not familiar with any of these concepts, gotta hop in the Discord. I'm gonna drop the link in a second, but you guys gotta be patient. So let me go to the comment section. Shout out to Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn, man, it's about 4 years ago now. But I was in Brooklyn, not too, well, I guess it was kind of long ago, but, not as recently as North Carolina. Let me put it like that. Brooklyn's a dope spot too. Shout out to Brooklyn. So let me get that up there. So yeah, so came on here and I'm basically saying I'm going to be bullish about this level, 22,124. And I want to see how the market respects each of these levels that I've laid out, right? On the daily closes. So when I don't have a defined bias, I'm really just taking things day by day. If we get a clean bullish setup or clean bearish setup, then I'll take it. Right now, though, the cleanest thing out of everything that I'm seeing is Euro. That's like the cleanest thing to me right now. So if I'm going into next week and you put a gun in my head and said trade one thing, then I'm just trading Euro. So that's what I'm looking at so far. I'm gonna actually look at gold. Really quickly to see what's going on there. Gold is kind of very similar to Euro. See, we traded back into this imbalance right there. Right, picked up orders. And then I want to see this continue to go higher. So what could we retest? I'm just going to say we could retest this last week's low. But then I'll also be looking at consequent encroachment of that wick too. Each of these assets have different, like the different markets have different things they're good at. Like currencies are really good for swing trading. So you might not have a good entry day to day. Like each day you might not find a good entry, but overall for the week you might have a higher time frame entry that you can swing. This could be it for that. So like the markets could respect that level and then go higher, and then give you something good for the week, or vice versa, right? So there's choppiness, but there's choppiness when the market hits a point. And usually, like if you catch the high low of the week, you can usually get a few hundred pips out of that. So that's a really good, setup, right? Two standard lots, one standard lot with just a couple thousand a week, it means that you can probably make, you know, 2 to 4 grand a week. So, or 2 to 4 grand in a trade. I won't say you consistently make that a week. So shout out to Mimi Honey 8. Where are you calling in from, Mimi? All right, so that's what I want to see in gold. I'm not even going to go down to a lower time frame. We did run this high. We currently respect this. If we break lows, you know, and maybe disrespect this fair value gap, then I do really want to see things go lower. So get rid of that. But yeah, I mean, nothing here. I mean, it's very wicky up here. We did gap up just to come back down. So I think we're going to keep going higher though. And yeah, I think that's it. So, you know, I have no other questions for you guys, or questions. I have no other charts to break down for you guys. So basically we're bearish on dollar, bullish on euro, GBP, and kind of a question mark on indices, but ideally ES, I'm leaning bearish, YM, I'm leaning bearish, and NASDAQ would probably follow those, but I also see how it can be bullish. So again, whenever I see markets that I kind of have a question mark by, it makes me not want to trade them and kind of sit out. So I'm probably going to wait for further markets, for kind of further information from the markets. So again, I'm going to drop the link to my my community here. I've been teasing this Telegram or this Discord all day, but it's talentedtentrading.com. That's my platform. That's my community. So I basically teach on there as well. But there is a free mentorship chat. So when you click the link, you'll see a video of me. It's not my best video, but it's a video nonetheless. But you could check that out, and there's a free side where you can hop in that mentorship group and get access to the group chat. In that group chat, we break down stuff on a regular basis. I update basically throughout the week how these analysis goes, you know, and just kind of give the updated things. Because again, you know, we're looking at the markets on Saturday when the market's closed. Anything can happen between now and Saturday, now on Monday, right? So I you know, update things based on that. I also have my mentorship group, which also works out of that same Discord, just in different permissions. For the lab, it gives them an accompanying website on wap.com, which is my full course breakdown, helps them see the markets like I see the markets. Yeah, so I'm going to drop a link here for that. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to hit me up. I got time right now, but the website is talentedtentrading.com. And then my social media, like I said, as soon as I'm off here, Caden, if you're still on here, man, I'm going to follow you for sure. Brinks Trades, it's my social media. So that is all my social channels. Again, YouTube, you know, if you love me, you subscribe to my YouTube, my Instagram, you know, and I think I'm on TikTok too. I think I upload videos there. It's been a second. But follow me on all those platforms. You know, sometimes I give out good tips. I got a lot of trade breakdown videos that are coming. So in case you guys are doing that, every once in a while I do a little flexing. You know, I just bought a new car recently in the past few months. So I try to show that off a little bit too, but not too much because I hate people that be scamming, right? So like if you're not showing trades mostly, if your mentor is not showing trade breakdowns on a regular basis and they got a course, I got to be honest with you, that's what's paying for their car, not the trade breakdowns. If you really love this game, you're gonna give away a lot of game. You know, I give away so much game for free. I mean, these calls that I do every Saturday for the last 2 years, and they've been crazy accurate. You can go back and look over the past 2 years how many weeks I just get it wrong, or how many weeks my ideas are invalidated. It's not a ton, man. So like, you know, it's a lot of game to give out for free. I mean, I'm basically giving you the own directional bias. You can take my strategy, you can match it up with what you do. If you're struggling as a trader, then you can definitely, you know, learn my system. Yeah, man. So I mean, it's been a lot of game given out for free. So, you know, if your community is not doing that, and you just see a guy riding around in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a SVJ, then you know, he's probably scamming you if he's not giving away any type of free stuff, or if you can't see a track record, right? And so I used to have a Telegram group. And since I moved everything over to Discord, it's been less Telegram. But in that Telegram group, the people that are on this call that were in that group, they can attest to this. I took a $10,000 account live on futures. You can't fake the futures accounts, right? You know very well if they're demo or they're real. But I took a $10,000 account to $40,000 twice in 4 months for the first one, and then like 3 months for the second one, 2 months for the second one. So that's all documented stuff, right? So if your trading mentor can't do things like that, and I'm not even saying percentage wise, but they're at least not documenting their stuff and showing you a return on their trades. It doesn't have to be crazy, something crazy like that, but it could be just like 10% a month or 5% a month or 3% a month, or just consistency, right? Because the percentage doesn't matter as much as the consistency does. So if you're struggling to see that from them, then they might not be actually traders. So just a word of advice. Caden said, you trade Forex, bro? So I trade everything, man. I have a Forex broker. I have a futures broker. I've been transitioning to futures more for like the last 2 years or so, only because the markets are better. I'm not as worried about these brokers going away. I'm not worried about MetaTrader going away. Like all that stuff that happened a couple of years ago with all the MetaTrader stuff made me shift to futures. So a lot of times I'm looking at like NASDAQ and ES, and I also try to trade with regulated brokers. The only way you can trade NASDAQ Forex is with a unregulated broker if you live in the US. So all these companies can kind of disappear at any given time. So I just don't want to put my money, especially since I started trading with a lot more money now. Like, I'm trading like 5-figure accounts. So it's like I don't want to just wake up one day and my money's gone, or my trade got slipped and my stop loss wasn't hit, or all that stuff like that. So just more professional money means more professional markets. That's all that matters to me right now. So I would say, yeah, I mean, that I trade Forex still, and I do have a regulated broker. Oanda is the one that I use, but I can't trade futures with that. So I wanted to do that. Also, the futures brokers allow, especially if you're trading with like Tradeovate as your personal broker. I think everybody, if you trade futures, you probably have had a Tradeovate account for the challenges and stuff like that. But with futures, with the actual personal Tradeovate broker, it allows you to put a daily loss limit on your own account, right? And you can pretty much put that what you want to do. So the days that I'm like, I'm not perfect, right? I still have days where I tilt, right? I still have days that the losses are hard to take, right? And so having a daily loss limit that's preset, I know coming into the day, I can only lose like, or, like whatever my number is, like, if it's $2 grand, $1 grand, or whatever it is, $3 grand on the day, I can lose that. And I know that, all I have to do is just make more than what my daily loss is, right? And I'm usually good for the week or good for the day or whatever. So, knowing how much you're going to lose in a day is a godsend. So having an account that protects you, from losing more than you want to, and obviously you negotiate that, you set that number based on your own account. But that changed my career for sure, man. So, so yeah, I would say like definitely, finding ways to minimize your loss. And for me, Tradeovate is that way. And then I think that broker is really cool because of that. There's still some stuff I don't like adjusting your stop losses and take profits ahead of the trade is kind of trash. But, I think protecting your losses, protecting your downside at all times is probably good because it allows you to maximize your upside. So, yeah. So, I mean, I would say, man, if you're trying to switch over, I would definitely look into it. You can't trade crosses though. So I don't know what you trade. I haven't, like I said, I'm guilty. I haven't checked out your channel or your videos on here, but the issue is, you can't trade crosses. So if you're trying to trade like GBP, JPY, or AUD, JPY, or CAD, GBP, right, or GBP CAD, or whatever the cross is, you can't trade those. You can only really trade majors. But the contract sizes are bigger, right? So like one contract of Euro futures is actually bigger than one contract of Euro USD. It's like one's like 1.1, like one contract of Euro USD is like 1.2 of Euro futures. So it's like they're bigger contracts. And so you can actually do more damage than you would on Forex with the assets that don't move as much. So I was using a lot of props for futures. Was thinking just going for the personal because I want to be able to hold it overnight. Yeah, that's the one thing about like futures trading is that like you can't swing trade, and that's the one part that sucks. Is like especially when you're trading currencies because the trend sometimes the lower time frame entries aren't always there, but the higher time frame ones are there. And so if you want to swing trade, just get a personal account. And the futures, like don't get me wrong, I think if you have futures prop firms and prop firms in general are cool if you want to scale. Like if you want 5 million, in capital, right? Um, or 10 million in capital, or do the J cap thing where you got like a lot of capital, that's what those are for. But like having one or two accounts is not worth it, to be honest, because you're only really getting 2 or 4 grand in drawdown. Like 150K account on Top Step means that you only get 4 grand in drawdown. You can just put 4 grand into an account. Obviously, everybody's situation is different, but like most people could save up to put 4 grand into an account at some point, right? And that's trading with real money, right? And I think a lot of times what happens is you blow those challenges trying to pass them, and you don't realize how much money you're making to even get to the funded account, right? So like 150K account on Top Step, and you got to make 4,500 and then make another 4,500 to pass. You got to make $9,000 to pass. I believe it's either $6,000 or $9,000. I can't remember now, but $9,000, let's say, and then you got to make another 4.5 just to get to the point where your account's above the threshold. So you got to make $13,000, just to really, see maybe 1 or 2 grand out of that and actually keep the account. So that's a lot of money to make. So you basically turn $4,500 into 13 grand before you see payouts. And so there's a lot of times people crash out and they blow those challenges because they're trying to trade, they're trying to double an amount of money, which is kind of crazy. Turn 4 to 13, that's like tripling it. And then on top of that, they're so focused on the payout that they're forgetting all of that, like that, they're blowing things trying to get there instead of taking their time with it. Whereas if you have 4 grand and you turn it into 13, with just your own personal account, you just made $9,000, and that's your personal money, right? And now you're not worrying about like, dang, I can get a payout, I got to get the payout. Like you just made that money, you're good. So that's my thought process is like if you don't want to scale with those accounts, then just it's not worth it. If you do, and that's the route you want to go, then like you'll make a lot of money. You'll make a lot more money in the long term, obviously, if you're scaling, right? And you have lots of accounts. But if you're just trying to trade one or two, or just like, I just want to trade Top Steps 3 accounts, that's cool. It's not really worth it, to be honest. You could just save up money over time. It might take you a couple of years to save 10 grand, depending on who you are and where you're coming from. But I'd rather just do that, save 10, 20 grand, put a loss limit on my account that says I can only lose maybe like 500 or 600 in a day or 1,000 in a day. Probably less than that, probably like 400 to 500 in a day. And then just slowly build that account up over time, instead of trying to do that. So that's exactly, think about how much money. Exactly, bro. And I've easily spent 5 grand maybe on, probably more than that, somewhere between 5 to 10 grand on prop firms, right? And I've gotten payouts from a lot of them, and I've had, at one point I had, still have technically, I just don't trade them, but I have over 50K accounts with Apex that are live and funded, 150K accounts with Top Step that are funded. And then I just got to the point where I was like, because I get scared a lot by the news and everything. Every time I see a payout getting denied, it kind of makes me like, why am I doing this? Even if I've gotten payouts with you, like Apex scares me a lot, to be honest with you. Top Step is cool, but they still, like, all the firms, the idea of not being able to control when you get paid and how you get paid, it still scares me a lot. So even though I'm fully funded with those, I still trade a personal account, and I honestly like the personal account more, and I have more fun with it, and I build it faster because I'm not worried about dumb stuff. So that's just me. So, but yeah, if anybody has any other questions, feel free to stay locked in and drop them in the box below. But that's all the analysis that I have for today. So I'll pause things here, and if you have any questions at all, just drop them in the box. They could be strategy related. They could be like, look at another chart. They could be just general trading stuff. Kaden says, yeah, I'll join your Discord. Cool, man. Yeah, just let me know. Reach out to me in there. I'll keep in touch with you on social. Again, I'm trying to get more involved with some of the trading community. Being that I live in Michigan, it's not really like, it's not a huge trading community out here, so everybody's online. So I've had a chance to meet a lot of cool people in the past few years, like Q Banks. I've said that multiple times. He's like one of the people that first we came up together around the same time in trading groups. There's other traders too that I won't name. They're kind of behind the scenes. But I've met a lot of cool people, so I'm always down to meet more, learn more from people, and all that stuff like that too. So yeah. If anybody has any other questions, though, drop them in the box. Yeah, I'll talk about them. But they could be strategy related. They could be emotionally related. They could be like, bro, I'm struggling with this. Like, whatever it is, we could talk about it. Got a few minutes. Okay, cool. I don't see any questions. I'll give it like a couple more minutes and then we'll. Let's see here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it like 2 more minutes, then I'm hopping off. So again, talented10.com. It's my site. You guys can check it out. And actually, I was gonna say this before. I meant to say this earlier, but I want to do a giveaway. I want to give away a free challenge to somebody because I do this a lot with other stuff, but I want to help a little bit more. I was thinking about ways that I can get back to the trading community, and so what I'm going to do is a giveaway, and I'll talk about this on future calls too. But to one of the members in the free community, what I'm going to do is give away a free trading challenge, whether it's Apex or Top Step. That person can decide. But if you're in the chat, then in the free chat, then I'm going to do that. And so I probably will talk about that over the next month. But as long as you're in the chat, you'll be eligible to win. So we want to make sure that you're in there. But if you want a free challenge from Top Step or Apex, join the chat, and I'll do a giveaway for one person. So again, I'll drop the link, talented10.com. And yeah, again, if you want to be part of that giveaway, I'll talk about it top of the stream next time. But if you want to potentially win a free trading challenge, join the chat. Again, free, doesn't cost you anything, but All right, I don't see any more questions, so I'll go ahead and end the call. Hope everybody has a good week, good trading week, and gets outside and enjoys the summer. Peace.
Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Blackbull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Blackbull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Blackbull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. Hey, if you like futures because of the tight spreads and clear setups, go check out Blue Guardian Futures. They let you start trading futures with up to $450k in funding. The best part, you keep 100% of your first 15k in profits, then 90% after that. No activation fees, weekly payouts, and they're sponsoring Chris Eubank Jr. and Birmingham City FC. Go take a look at blueguardianfutures.com or click the link in the description.